Hey YouTube, it's Justin, aka Demonic Sweaters. Today I have a pretty interesting video for you guys, at least I think it's interesting, and I'm going to be checking out this little device which is called a Smartwav 2 plus MIDI Adapter, which is kind of like a tiny little miniature drum module, but technically it's not exactly that. Yes, it could be used as that, but really this device is a lot more generalized than that. It's basically just a little tiny sampler. Really like a sample player, I guess is a better way to describe what it actually is. And what you can do is actually, I have it over here already hooked up. And what this thing actually does is it has a MIDI input, single MIDI input, some audio outputs, a micro SD card slot, a headphone output, and a volume, and a power input. So basically it just runs on a regular like guitar pedal power supply. You plug MIDI input into it, and then the MIDI signals come in and trigger samples that are inside of the device. Now, I think this is actually a really cool little thing. They're about 80 bucks, and they're by a company called Visic Technologies, and the website's down there. I'll post a link down below as well. And they're kind of marketing this thing as like a little device you can hook up to your electronic drum set, load your own samples into it on, say, like an Alesis Nitro Mesh, which doesn't allow you to do that, and then you could trigger your own samples with this little device. Now, you could do that in something like Easy Drummer or, Superior Drummer, but with those programs, you have to have a laptop or a computer. But with this, you just basically hook it up to your drum module, and then you can trigger any sample you want out of this little device. Now, it's a little bit nerdy. It's not the most user-friendly thing in the world, but I'm going to show you guys how it actually works here in a second. But before I do all that, let's talk about my sponsor today, which is PureVPN. If you're concerned with internet privacy, check out PureVPN. There's a link down below where you can get some special pricing. They have plans for yearly subscriptions as well as monthly. They're very reasonably priced, and you can get secure access to the internet. If you just don't want your ISP tracking your every move, PureVPN is a very good service that can take care of that for you. So check them out. There's a link down below. You can get some special pricing through that link. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Now, I'm not actually hooking mine up to my drum set. I'm actually hooked it up to my Drumcat DK10, which is right down here. Let me show you guys. And sorry, the sun's starting to come out now, and it's going to get bright. But this is the DK10. You might have seen it in some other videos. And what this is basically like a tabletop style drum pad that has all the drums. It has 10 different pads on it, so I can trigger 10 different sounds. And boy, that sun is really coming out now. Anyway, so I'm going to hook it up to this, and I already have it hooked up right now, but I'm using the default samples that you can download from their website right now. And I'll just show you a little bit of playing using the default ones. Only a few of the pads actually work with their default samples, but after that, what I'm going to do is jump on the computer and show you guys how to create a library for this device and then trigger your own samples that way. So we'll create a whole drum kit together with this thing and then play it on the DK10. But first, let's check out some of the default sounds. Okay, so the way that this thing works is you have your SD card, and let me just show you here. I have my micro SD adapter, USB adapter, and I just plug my SD card into that, and I'm going to plug this into the computer. That's going to open up here. Now, let's ignore that for the time being. What you're looking at right here, this folder, this is what I downloaded from Visic Technologies' website. And basically, I can just copy this entire content of this, this whole folder onto the SD card. And that's how I was able to get those built-in sounds that you were just hearing. Now, I want to customize this. So what I'm going to do, well, first what I did is I actually went through all of these sounds here, and I made a little list of what the sounds are with the corresponding numbers to the files. Now, just to explain what you're looking at here a little bit, is all these numbers are actually the MIDI note that is being triggered by whatever you're using to to send your MIDI output. These are the MIDI notes that the Smartwav is responding to trigger those individual sounds. So I made a note to what each one was over here in this notepad. So I have 023 is my open hi-hat sound, 36 is kick, 38 is snare, and so on and so forth. Now, over here, one thing you may notice is we have A, B, C, and D. Now, these are actually your velocity levels. So you can actually have 3 or 4 different velocity levels for each sample. So you can have 4 different samples, 4 different snare samples, depending on how hard you're hitting that sample, or that pad will trigger the corresponding sample in the 4 different levels. If that makes any kind of sense. Hopefully it does. So what I did here, though, is actually I went through my DrumCat manual and I noted down all the MIDI notes for the pad layout on my DrumCat. So what I want to do is actually create a sample bank that corresponds to these numbers. And what I'm going to do is actually put them here in the root of the SD card rather than these, which were there before. I already deleted those. Now, the folders, if you have a device like a Roland drum module or something like that where you can do program changes, then you could actually do different sample sets in folders. So 000 is going to be program number 1, 0001 or 001 rather is going to be program number 2. And that's how MIDI works. 0 is always the first one, so that would be 1 on whatever device you're looking at, and then 1 would be 2, and so on and so forth. But anyway, we're not going to be dealing with that in this actual video because all the samples are going to just go in the root of the SD card. And the reason why I know to do it like that, if we go here and look at this README file here, it says, if using an Alesis Nitro module or drum modules that do not support PC program change command, by selecting any drum kit in the module, it won't send program change messages. Therefore, the system will always be pointing to the micro SD folder, triggering the .wav files in this root path. So what that basically is saying is that all the samples need to be in the root of the SD card if your device doesn't support program changes. Okay. So my DrumCat does not support program changes, but you could trigger sounds from 0 all the way up to 127 MIDI notes. So if I wanted to get more sounds, what I could do is actually, put in 127 samples, and then using the program features on the DrumCat, I could create my own kits to trigger different samples if I wanted to do that. But for right now, I'm just going to start with the basic one and just go through what I already notated here, which is 10 different samples is what we're going to do. So anyway, hopefully this is all making sense. And like I said, this is pretty nerdy. This thing is not going to be for the average, user that just wants to plug it in, forget about it, and play. If you want to do something like that, then your best bet is just to get a good drum module that already sounds good that you don't have to worry about it, like maybe a TD17 or a TD07. Both of the TD07, I don't know if they sell individually yet, but I'm hoping they will because it sounds really good, and I think it'll be a fairly inexpensive drum module. But that's a totally different topic altogether. So let's go ahead and get started on this. So I'm going to be using Audacity, And I already made some drum samples a while ago for another project I was working on. Well, actually, I have a lot of samples that I could use. But what I want to do is actually make something that's kind of a unique sounding drum kit, something a little bit creative. And I'm not going for realism here. I'm going for just interesting and kind of cool sounding. So let me get into my sample folder first off. Okay, so here I created a sample set for from my old Tama Imperial Star kit. So I think I'm going to start off with some of these and maybe modify them a bit. So let's just start off with the kick drum. Let me find it. Now, I don't even know if I'm going to do velocity levels on this video because that'll probably take forever, and I'm not going for realism anyways. So I think I'm just going to use single samples for this particular sound set. So let's just go ahead and start off with kick loud. Where is that? Kick soft, kick loud. Here we go. So let's just drag this in here. Hear what it sounds like. Okay, so that's pretty cool, but I want it to be, I don't know, like more, I want it to have more character. So let's go here to effect. First off, I want to do, let's say some kind of distortion or something, maybe a decimator. Let's try that. So let's go bit depth. Put that down to 8-ish, and then I'm going to sample rate. I'm going to drag that way down here. Let's hear what that sounds like. Do it more. How about even more? Nope, that's too much. I don't know how crazy about this I am, actually. Let's go with our bit depth lower. Nope, that's too much. Yeah, that's getting there. That's kind of cool. It's a little long. Okay, I'm going to go with that. Let's apply that, and I'm going to get rid of basically all the tail here because I don't want it to be that long. Maybe not that much tail. Let's hear what that sounds like. All right, that's cool. So first, let's go ahead and just export this as wave. And what I'm going to do here, well, actually, let's go ahead and just name them correctly right off the bat. So let me look at my key that I created. So kick drum should be 036. So all I have to do is just name this 036 and save it on the root directory of the SD card, which is here. So 036. Don't worry about tagging it, obviously. And that should be that. So let's go ahead and do a snare drum now. So let's get rid of this. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Why do I have 13? Oh, because the hi-hat, duh. Okay, that's right. That should be right. The hi-hat has 3 sounds, so that makes sense. All right, so let's load it up and see if it works. I hope it does. Okay, so it all worked, except for I messed up a little bit as far as the mapping goes. Somehow I have my open hi-hat is the ride cymbal, and my ride cymbal pad is nothing. The noise crash that I made is a little bit too loud, so I'm going to have to fix that, and then fix the mapping. But the kick drum and toms and everything all sound like the correct levels, and I think they sound really cool. I do think I'm going to change the bass drum sound, though. It's a little bit too fuzzy sounding, so I'm going to work on the bass drum a little bit, but I'll play a little bit right now so you guys can hear what it sounds like so far. So yeah, very noisy, very fuzzy sounding, but that's kind of what I was going for, something a little industrial sounding. But I do want to change a couple of things like I said. Maybe I'll make it stereo too. I think since I'm going to have to go in and edit some things, I might as well do that as well. It'll take a little bit longer, but I think it'll be worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, make some updates, then I'll come back and show you guys the finished kit. Well, as much as I was really enjoying this device, that's a really strange problem, and it makes it kind of unusable, or unreliable at least. I have no idea why that could be happening. As you can see, if I unplug the power, then plug it back in, it just starts working again. I have a feeling that it has something to do with how it's handling the data. Maybe it's overloading. I don't know. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. So, unfortunately, yeah, I don't really know what to do. Anyway, it was still fun. I mean, it's fun to play with, and maybe if you got one, you wouldn't have the same issue. Or maybe the guys from Visic will see this video and have an idea as to what's going on. Well, I could also send them an email, which I'll probably do. All right, guys, a quick update before the end of this video. I spoke with the people at Visic, and they had me email them all of my samples, like my full sample set and my MIDI configuration file. And they're going to take a look at it and see if they can recreate the problem. And also tomorrow, I think I'm going to continue working on this same video. It's going to be part 2, or the next video I do. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow, but I want to try some different samples and see, and also a different SD card, and see if it was something like that. Maybe there was just some kind of corrupt file or something weird going on. So I'm going to see if I can find the solution. They're working on it to find a solution. And hopefully I'll get it figured out, because I think the thing is really cool, especially when I was going back and looking at the editing, and listening to the drum samples on there. I thought it sounded really cool using those 8-bit samples on there, and I want to be able to use it. So I'll let you guys know what happens, so be sure to check out the second part of this video once it's uploaded. I have a lot of mess to clean up here, but anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon. And be sure to follow me on Spotify. There's a link down below. And I have a new album coming out on December 4th, so be on the lookout for that. It's called Can You Draw Me? Anyway, I'll see you guys really soon. Take care. Later.